ready to talk about forgiving. Okay, so this episode today I'm going to preface with the fact that, listen, I understand that sometimes some things that happen in life are not, if you're like, you know what, I could never forgive. I could never let them off the hook. I could never allow somebody, anything, any sort of situation to get away with. Right. But here's the thing where I'm going to talk about today, and what I'm going to help guide us through today is the beautiful art of forgiving, the joy in forgiving, the fact that, you know what, letting someone off the hook means you are letting yourself off the hook. Forgiving yourself, forgiving other people, it automatically allows you this, not even a pass, you lighten your own load. So that's what that's what I'm excited about us sharing today and talking about today. So again, I'm going to preface that and also say that, listen, you might not be ready to forgive. You might not be ready to let certain things go. And hey, guess what? That is okay. It's okay. When the things that you're ready to forgive, the things you're ready to let go of, you'll know, your body will know. So before we get started, let's take a second. Even if you're you can do this while you're driving, let's take a couple breaths, inhale through your nose and sigh it out, let it go. Forgiveness. Okay, so I'm going to be using some information here from my friend who I have yet to meet, but I know that we're going to meet here in the future, to talk about Dr. Fred Luskin. He created this amazing program at Stanford University called the Forgiveness Project. So, okay, first of all, what is forgiveness, right? Y'all know I love words, and I love looking up the actual definitions of words because someone put a lot of time and thoughtfulness in creating a definition for us so we don't have to wander around in ambiguity forever. What's nice about it, it's a great template for us to move from and allow ourselves to navigate it navigate what the word means, right? Invite it embody in our own way, on our own terms. But at the end of the day, we have this nice template. Okay, so forgiveness is the action or process of forgiving or being forgiven. The action or process of forgiving or being forgiven. Let's take a moment with that. I love that so much. Because a lot of times throughout my life, and if y'all have been listening to the podcast, kind of in order up until now, a good bit about my story, and the fact that I, am a survivor of several forms of abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and emotional abuse, financial abuse, all of these different things. And so I have been able to, and then something really big is we talked about the fact that I was sexually abused several times throughout my life. So what I did over the last few years in becoming a full-time entrepreneur, not a lot of times people talk about the emotional component of becoming an entrepreneur. No one they okay, take my course, do these things, get the capital, get the investors, have a business plan, right? No one's really talking about the emotional components of the fact that you're becoming this entrepreneur and how vulnerable and how scary, no matter how much support you have, it can be. And so with that, what I noticed over the last 2 years, when I started the business, it was whoa. And it really started with me forgiving my father in his spiritual realm. So it was okay, I never had a relationship with him. I didn't know him. The last time I saw him, I think I was 2 years old. And he left us. He left our family, and for various reasons. And it was something where I was I knew that I needed to forgive him, even though he's been dead for now. I think he died in 1999, and it's been a while. What is that, 22 years or something like that? 23 years. And so I was okay, I'm ready to forgive him because I'm ready to lessen this heavy masculine energy that I'd been carrying around, right, for far too long. It was okay, I need to let this go. This isn't mine to carry anymore. And all I did was operate in, all I was doing is operating in this survival mode. So I was ready to liberate myself and I was ready to let go. That's what Dr. Fred Luskin says is like one of the things that, I'm sorry, we have. Sir Reggie, if you're not watching the video, totally just came up here to offer his thoughts on forgiveness, and they were received. Thank you so much. Okay, so that's one thing that Dr. Fred says is like, first, be aware of your feelings, right? Like, so it's like, okay, these steps that he has here, of course, are not linear. They're not supposed to be done in exact order. You do them just like grief, just like moving through any sort of tough thing. They come up, and it's not this like one way road. So I first was aware of the feelings that I had. I was aware of the fact that like my father, like I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't really know him. So not having a relationship with him wasn't really having that big of an effect on my life. Well, it was. It absolutely was because of my relationship with myself, my relationship with men, my worthiness, all of these different things. Like I didn't have a male growing up in my life, like a father figure in my life that I lived with consistently, like throughout as I grew up and whatnot. I definitely like was blessed enough to meet a lot of men that, presented as father figures that I've talked about, like Mr. Bird and Doug and so many. And I was like, so I'm fine, I'm good. But then I realized a lot of times I get in these relationships, I would meet these men, I would go out on dates, and it was just like, I just didn't know, I knew something was missing. And so it wasn't until now, 3 years ago that I was like, okay, it's time for me to forgive. I'm ready to let go. And I was like, the moment I did this beautiful exercise with a beautiful teacher to kind of forgive people in their spiritual realm, I immediately felt lighter. So I was like, wow, okay. And I offered him this forgiveness in his spiritual realm. And in turn, it was like it lightened my load here in the physical on earth. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. And it was hard. It was deep. It was vulnerable, and it was isolating, but it was like, okay, this is the process. This is the mud that I'm trudging through right now to get to that lotus on the other side. So, like I said, I was recognizing my feelings. I was ready to forgive. That's a big thing. I was ready to forgive. Number 2, knowing that forgiveness is for your own sake. As I just mentioned, listen, me forgiving my father and me forgiving the person who abused me has nothing to do with them. It was for me to be able to move on, to walk lighter in the world, to be this joy for life embodier, right? Like that's what it was about. For me, I was like, I want to lighten my load. I'm ready to be liberated. I'm ready to be free. So let's move in this manner. So I felt really like I was ready for that. And again, like I needed to let that go and forgive those people that hurt me along the way. And with that, what it helped me do is that number 3, do not expect reconciliation was what he says, right? So for me, not expecting to reconcile. Obviously, my father's passed away. He's not going to come out, whatever, and say, okay, like, all right, now we can be friends. But the thing is, I did some medium work a few years later. It was a very interesting experience happened where I got to speak with my father in the spiritual realm. And I know y'all might be like, whoa, where's she going with this? But if you know anything about me now, I do not shy away from any sort of healing modality that's going to lighten my load and help me be the best self, and help me be the best ace that I could possibly be. So I said, all right, so and then the same thing with the person who hurt me when I was a child. And, also like my own, my mom's ex-husband, which was like my stepfather for a while. Like I had to do some forgiveness work with him, which is interesting because I was able to reach out to him. I was able to call him, but I was, again, I wasn't expecting a reconciliation. I wasn't expecting anything. It was all for my sake so I can move lighter through the world and have a different lens, have a different vantage point on how relationships should work, how my relationship with men, how I can tap into my divine feminine without feeling that I'm going to be taken advantage of, I'm going to be hurt again or anything like that, right? Because you can't guarantee that we operate through life and that can't be guaranteed that our feelings will never be hurt, that will always be like safe every single place we go, right? We just have to trust that the universe has our back, trust that God is protecting us, and also just be safe, protect ourselves, set ourselves up so that we are in these safe environments and are taken care of and making sure that we're held and complete, right? That's really the only way. So then number 4, he talks about that, listen, recognize how the event is affecting you in the present. And as I mentioned, it was affecting my ability to be like this, like open and vulnerable and soft partner in relationships. I was not even just like romantic relationships, but friendships, work relationships, everything. I was just kind of walking around with like a chip on my shoulder, even though I was so happy, filled with love, filled with joy, but it wasn't coming from an authentic place like it is now because I felt like I got the short end of the stick. And I have a beautiful friend who's an amazing father. And I hear how he guides his children and especially his daughter. And it's so like, when I first kind of heard how he was talking to his daughter on the phone, I got so emotional when I was into, because I was like, dang, I wish that I had that, and I do, but like everything lined up in my life the way that it was supposed to, as hard as some of the shit was, to make me who I am today. And again, that saying that out loud didn't come overnight. It came with me being acceptant and reaching out for all these different healing modalities that I was like, yes, what do I need to do? Yes. How can you help me? What books do I read? What yoga class do I take? And we talked about kind of the nervous system reset course that I'm doing as well. All of these different things to, again, help me to shed, help me to unlearn, help me to lift these veils, right? Because listen, yeah, I didn't grow up with my father in the house, and my stepdad actually, like, he did step in and help raise my brother and I with my mom, right? Which was no easy feat. Like, we weren't his biological children. He stepped in. Was it a traumatic environment most of the time? Yes. Yes, it was. However, I know that I was carrying that around and subconsciously carrying that energy into relationships and into my own self-worth. And that I was just doing myself a disservice. So it was time for me to let it go. It was time for me to accept the fact, to actually come to terms how it was having this effect on my life in the present. And number 5, learn to activate the relaxation response is what he talks about, right? So for me, and we're going to go through this right now together, because I know that this is a lot, and I know I've already shared a lot and kind of thrown at you like, okay, these steps and ways in which, right? So let's take a moment. I want you to close your eyes if you can. And as I've mentioned before in the podcast, if you can't because you're driving and you're listening, while you're listening, come back to this. But I want you to take a moment to close your eyes. And I want you to bring to your mind's eye, or bring to your thoughts here now, a person, a place, a thing, an event you're ready to forgive. And notice that and understand that emotions might come up for you right now. The body might be starting to have a reaction. You might be feeling tingling or kind of like twitching or something. Your body might be having some actual physical reactions. And I want you to know that that's okay. And I now want you to take your hands, one hand on your heart, the left hand on your heart, and the right hand on your belly. And I want you to either say to yourself or say out loud, I love you. Take an inhale. Sigh it out, let it go. Now I want you to say either out loud to yourself, I forgive you. And this is to that person, to that place, to that event, and it's also to yourself. So you've already said, I love you. You said, I forgive you. And you can say, next, take an inhale. Sigh it out, let it go. And then now you can say to yourself or out loud, thank you. So thanking yourself for being brave enough to love yourself, to forgive yourself. Thanking yourself for being brave enough to say, I love you to someone who hurt you. Forgive that person who hurt you. And knowing that there's some form of gratitude, some form of joy that's in this healing moment for you. Remembering that it has absolutely nothing to do with this person. It's for your own sake and it's for you. All right, let's take another breath here together. And sigh it out, let it go. Now, if you need a few more moments here, take those moments, take that time. This is only the beginning, my friends. This is only the beginning. All right. And so here's the thing. Next, you concentrate on what you can control. Concentrate on your present moment now, the beauty that you hold, the joy that you hold, the brilliance that you have, the fact that you remain, you still showed up for life. You still stayed here despite all the things that you've went through. You can control how you respond. You can control how you move forward. You owe it to you. You're this beautiful being who have just, life has just like, you've experienced life. And sometimes things didn't go the way that in which we hoped it to go. Can you forgive those moments right now? Can you forgive yourself for what you did not know when you did not know it? Can you forgive the small human that you were, the little girl, the little boy that you were? Can you guide them? Can you guide them to where you are now, saying, listen, can you talk to them and say, hey, listen, guess what? We did it. We survived and now we're thriving. And again, like I said, I understand that I didn't get to this place overnight. I didn't get through one class or one podcast episode. So I invite you to practice this as much as you can, as much as your body is able to, on a daily basis. Some days it's going to be harder than others, and I'm with you on that. I've been there. And so again, it's the practice of when you're ready to move on. Now that you've done those exercises. So number 7, we've moved on. We're ready to move on. Listen, I understand my father had his demons. My stepdad had his own things, right? He had his demons. But guess what? I'm ready to move on with my life despite all the things that were unfortunate that I experienced. I'm ready to move on. And I am moving on because I am embodying joy. I'm an embodier of joy, and I get to help other people do the same. And then being an agent, being a change agent for yourself, being this person that's like, listen, that story does not make me who I am. I am this dynamic being. I am this whole and complete human. I am this beautiful soul. The skin that I am in right now in this life is, just the skin that I'm in. And it's taken some bumps and bruises along the way. But guess what? I still remain. So this is the beautiful art. This is the beautiful practice of forgiveness. This is what I actually do daily. Do I do every single thing from 1 to 9? No. But I take parts of it. I take parts of it on the days when I sometimes start to replay experiences. It's like, okay, I sit down, I put my hands on my body, and I say, I love you. I forgive you. We didn't know any better. And in turn, in hopes that I'm like, listen, I hope that other people can forgive me. I ask for forgiveness to those I might have, made, transgressions against, that I may have hurt in the past. And I know I've hurt some feelings and I've hurt some people. So I ask for forgiveness every single day. And I forgive the day each and every day. I ask for forgiveness for myself each and every day. And I send love out into the world, joy out into the world. And I forgive those who have hurt me. Not every day, because some days I don't even think about them. It's been months, it's been years. Sometimes I don't think about those situations. But that's a part of the healing journey. That's a part of like being in this joy for life place, y'all. So I know that today y'all might be like, forgiveness, no way. I'm not ready for that. And that's fair. And that's cool. That's chill. But when you are ready, you'll know you're ready. And I'll be here with this guidance to help you, to guide you along the way. So yeah, y'all, let me know how this felt in your body. Let me know your experience with forgiveness. Let me know anything that might have come up for you that you want to share. Send me a message, send me an email, send me a DM. Because you're not alone in this. And that was a big thing for me in this forgiveness journey, is recognizing that I'm not alone, but it's on me. I have the onus, and I have to take responsibility for my part in leading a life and having a life that's lighter and more love-filled. All right. So I want to hear from y'all. Make sure you send me an email, info@aceyogala.com, or send me a DM @aceyogala. All right. So we're on this forgiveness journey together, friends, and it's each and every day. And I am here with you. We are here for you. And I love you. Thank you.